Hello world, this is Stefan of Landrigan Games, reprising my analogy with The Producers. As of July 20th, 2019, I finished the animations for the playable knight. Roger Debris hasn't yet coded in its ranged attack, but that's mainly because he's currently restructuring the programming code to more efficiently deal with all of the art assets I am and will be throwing at him. Leo Bloom has had some health issues that have been preventing him from working on any more art, but he's fortunately coming to the tail end of that. Knowing his luck, that means he's now due to encounter his next setback. As for me, I'm not entirely certain how to digest my recent feeling. I finally feel hopeful that this game will be completed, and I don't know what to make of it. At least I think I feel hope. Unlike the more commonly expressed form of hope that is actually desperate optimism, i.e., I hope this happens, seeing the second player character running around has given me the thought that, yes, this can actually happen. Most likely, though, I'll quickly disregard that thought as I work on the upcoming golem and leave it as an undercurrent on which I'll think back for good feelings. Regardless, I don't recall harboring good feelings toward the future, or any feelings at all towards such, for quite some time. Most of my life has been an inconsistent stream of getting suddenly punted by the ineffable machinations of fate, and thus I've become conditioned to focus on the here and now, and maybe I'll reap what I sow. Consequently, I've come to conclude that the only things in life that can be guaranteed are failure and effort, which is quite a descent to Yoda's do or do not line. On that note, though, I have become rather comfortable with the act of trying. For me, projects worth accomplishing are worth attempting, which actually got me in trouble during my state-mandated time in academia because I resisted doing busy work. One exchange I've had with myself copiously is, will this work? I don't know, but I still need to try. Of course, bringing this back to the beginning, another reason that I've come to not expect results from effort is because of my own litany of half-finished projects. I spent 3.5 years on a fantasy novel, which got a generally good reception from classmates and summer coworkers who read it. Near the end of my finishing the first draft, the hard drive crashed. Granted, I ended up losing 15 pages instead of all 270 because I had emailed a copy of my progress to a friend. But within those 15 pages was an amazing detailed fight scene, and I could either painstakingly recreate all of the choreography, or I could mope that the recreation isn't as good as the original. Because writing things allows me to forget them and move on, the first option daunted me and kept me from working on the novel for a while. Later on, I realized that were I to complete the first draft, it would then require hundreds of hours to properly reformat, because I had written it more like a movie. The manuscript was a page-turner, but it was missing a lot of details that movies don't need, but books do. During the initial pause from writing that novel, I had an idea for a tabletop role-playing system. Assessing my bugbears with Dungeons and Dragons, I started working on a dice system to fix those problems in exchange for other problems. I managed to set up a foundation for the magic and combat, but because small details are my weakness, I got hung up on deciding specific numbers for how effective are individual spells and armors. I also suspected how far above my abilities the end project would necessarily be, because its ultimate goal is to give a loose structure to slap onto freeform role-playing. So all it had to do was everything. It's currently on the back burner while I work on things more focused and clearly envisioned. Taking a cue from Warhammer 40k, I figured that one of the better ways to market the tabletop game is to put out independent literature that takes place within the game's setting. With a tone actually more akin to Phantom Tollbooth, the story is a traveler's diary turned journal as he goes from fantasy country to fantasy country. I unconsciously added an aged styling to the prose because the narrator describes everything in a matter-of-fact manner, and I restrict myself to only words available within Middle English. I've completed the first draft for the first country of 7, as well as a few entries for the second country, but that also is on the back burner to be revisited much later. On top of those grander half completions, I've also tried writing songs a couple dozen or so times. However, I have words and melody for only one original song, and of course, the song that I finished I had written for a movie that I never started.